Okay, everyone, here is a sample paper from our class. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over it the way I would go over it in my office. And that hopefully will help you see what I'm looking for. So here we have a paper. I think it's a pretty good draft. Draft 1, you'll see the draft, etc. And they talk about how Google is this used engine, and then talk about Carr and basically say what his main argument is. And here we have the thesis. So one thing you could notice is this is what I'll do is I'll read first and I'll go, okay, so I see the thesis right here. For those of you who are looking at it, see that? That's the thesis right there. And we're going to find out that that's not the whole thesis. Now, the next piece is this is her summary, pretty good summary. And then she says, Carr is surely right about how the internet is affecting our academic learning. I believe that it is becoming such a necessity of humans that we rely on the web as a source for gathering information. So here you see that she's agreeing with Carr, which is a great topic sentence. And the first one is that we're over-reliant. When we go back up to this piece, it's becoming a necessity. So I think we're going to figure out, well, what does that mean? Does that really mean, is that a bad thing? So there's that piece. We'll take a look at this line up here. So this is the topic sentence. It refers to Carr. It refers to the point in the thesis. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the paragraphs. Then down here we have a next topic sentence. Notice this is another point. So it has this, not only have we, so that's a nice transition. We did that other thing, but also it's become a distraction. This is a very strong topic sentence. It's really well done. Then we'll see that the person uses some examples from the internet. Now the last piece here is Carr implies that we're now becoming more machine-like, following orders that the internet provides. So remember, you can see how that wasn't a part of the thesis. So the first thing I look at is what the points of the person making, and then do I see those as strong topic sentences? So notice we haven't really gotten into the content yet. So anyway, that's what I'll do. I'll look that over with your paper. So the first thing you need to do when you're reading over your draft is to ask yourself, what am I trying to say? And then, is that in my thesis? Did I elaborate my thesis? And then when I elaborated it, did I say my reasons? Oh, I think Carr's right because of this. Then does that show up in your topic sentence? Okay? All right. So now we're going to take a look at the marked up paper. So here's how I mark it up, and again, we'll go through it. Here I say, notice that you made a third point below about me machine, so add machine-like, so add that to your thesis. So this is what I would want the student to do. Now, this sentence has focus problems. So sometimes I'll take a sentence. In the essay, Is Google Making Us Stupid? The author argues that with the use of Google, it is now affecting. So when I take a look at this it here, that's a problem for me. So I say, instead of that, try this. In the essay, Is Google Making Us Stupid? Nicholas Carr argues that using Google is now affecting our intellectual abilities and how we read. So you see the difference is putting that strong subject of Carr here, and that once we get the that piece, using Google is affecting, is a better way to say that. So trying to help people get a little bit better sentence focus. Anyway, here we have the article, the first point, which is that it's affecting the way of reading. So here, let's go back up to this point right here. Yeah. Just a sec. This is the summary. So he does a pretty good job of this. Affecting our reading, we could maybe talk about less intelligence also hurting our reading. So get the more negative piece in. When you have a quotation, you want to tab it over like this. So they tabbed it over. And notice the person says, in a recently published study, it suggests that we may be in the midst of a sea change in the way we read. What she really wants to do here is quote Carr on why this University College of London study says that our reading is getting hurt. So you might want a stronger quotation there to make that point. So this isn't the best quotation for that, but it gets kind of going. Now notice, Carr believes people are now skimming through readings trying to save time. Carr's not the only one who agrees. His friends have also discussed. So here there might be a quotation. This is a little bit of a run together, and I'll talk about grammar. For instance, the author observes, and then notice that it gives an example from the piece that makes sense. So this is a good development so far. What I say down the bottom is, strong summary. Notice you could add the better quotation from the London study. Also, they keep talking about deep reading and deep thinking. Maybe use those strong concept words. And finally, Marianne Wolf is the one that talks about reading. Also, lots of times if there's an article, sometimes there's a problem, they might talk about a solution for it, and Carr has this kind of what we need to do in order to not be sucked up into the Google thing. So when we look here, how it becomes a necessity. I thought this was a good topic sentence. What I would like to see is why the necessity part is bad. We're becoming dependent on it. Here we have this one line that's okay to quote. Now it can be done in minutes. And then this person says, is it the smartest way to go library or to go Google? And they use the Tennessee State University example to say from the internet that it's better to go to the library, and that most journals and books aren't on the internet. So cite your source when you do that. Well, again, we'll see how to do that with Curious Researcher. So at the end I said, good job in this paragraph. I love the extra support you offer from TSU. Now, can you put an I say in this? What's your own experience? So this person uses a lot of they say to explain. Maybe we're thinking that Google is the best way to get information, but maybe libraries are better. What about your own experience? Next, we have a really nice, remember, transition. And Carr says, it's chipping away at our capacity for concentration and contemplation. A nice quote that supports this notion of distraction. Again, they use an example of distraction. So down below here, what I say is, refer to the Carr sources that talk about our brains, maybe. Like if we're losing focus, maybe that's because our brains are being rewired. Also, try an I say. Show your own example. So this person is really good at the they say, looking a little bit more for the I say. And then finally, the third point about we're becoming machine-like, and she talks about how we use these maps all the time from Google, but we wouldn't know how to get around if we didn't have the maps. So what I said to that was, well, is this robotic? Is it that bad to use Google Map? I'm not saying that I'm disagreeing. I'm just saying, try explaining what you think this makes us, you think this makes us more like machines. I actually agree, but explain more. Like, for example, it doesn't do you any good if your phone's out of juice, or maybe it makes this so that we really can't go anywhere unless we have a phone. That kind of was interesting. And then finally, a good, nice, solid conclusion that doesn't just summarize, but that talks about what concerns there are. This may save some time, but it doesn't teach us the value of learning. Now, I'm going to do something here. So here, see this yet, it may save us some time, or yes, it may save some time. This is what's called the naysayer. So what I want people to do is right here, try adding a naysayer paragraph. What I mean by that is I'm going to do a little video where I explain it. But here, mostly what I mean is, okay, you've made this argument against Google. What would somebody say who's pro-Google? What would Thompson say? So try to anticipate a person saying something else about this that's against you, and then how would you answer that? And then finally, a really nice conclusion. I said, how would you respond your own self to being too dependent on Google? So here, I think the takeaways for this is a great first draft, very solid. Notice it has a kind of a 5-paragraph essay feel, which you don't have to do. Notice it's 1 paragraph per point, which you don't have to do. You can also develop a point over more than 1 paragraph. But what it does do well is it stays on point with its topic sentences. It has some good analysis. It uses the Carr, and it has a good conclusion. What it could use is a little bit maybe stronger of a summary and a little bit more development of the I say, especially in terms of examples. Talk about your own experience as well as information from the net. Okay? All right, well, I hope that was useful, and we will see.